Welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I'm Andy Temte. On the Balancing Act, we talk to business leaders and industry experts to explore the balancing acts we play in our professional lives and learn about the events that put rocket boosters behind their career success. Today, we have Philip Atkinson joining us. Philip is a leadership coach, an organizational transformation expert, and founder of Hive Logic. Philip is also a beekeeper. He's the author of Be Wise, 12 Leadership Lessons from a Busy Beehive. So today on the show, I'm really excited to explore what bees can teach us about leadership with Philip. Philip, welcome to the show.
Andrew, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yes. And Philip, can you tell our listeners where you are today?
Yeah, I'm based in France, but right on the Swiss border. So it's a lovely part of the world to be in. On a lovely summer's day.
Excellent. Well, before we get started, please give our listeners the elevator pitch version of your story.
Thank you, Andrew. It's taken me a life's work to realize something very simple. And that as leaders, as parents, as members of community, we all live in complex systems, whether that's work or community or our home life. And actually, to be the best possible at each of those roles, we can all do better by increasing our awareness of ourselves and what is happening in the system. And really, my life's work is to help people stop and pause and just think a little bit harder about what is happening, and then we can be more effective.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your work history in the corporate sector? What halls did you roam?
Yeah, I've started the loyal path as a sales rep for a pharmaceutical company, which is a good way to learn about the life science and the pharma industry. I then went to work for big clients. I worked for Novartis and for Roche for more than 25 years. And then and I worked in commerce, in sales, in marketing, in medical affairs, understanding patient needs and how we develop drugs to meet them. And then
Excellent.
6 years ago, I left to become independent to run my own business, helping teams be better.
Excellent. So one event in your life that just was a key accelerant for your career, if you had to pick one, what would it be?
Andrew, thank you. That's a nice question. It's actually learning coaching skills. And that happened quite late in my career. But it was a turning point for me to learn a coaching style of leadership, took away the pressure from me feeling as a leader that I had to know everything, which was just never going to be the case. And a coaching style opened up. It was transformative for me in my career.
Yeah. So many leaders minimize their role as a coach. And that's literally the top thing that you have to do as a manager, as a leader, is to be a coach to your team. But so many folks, and I'm sure you run into it all the time, that don't put coaching at the top of their standard work list. So I'm fully connected with your rocket booster moment there. Philip, many of us grew up with the colloquial phrase, busy as a bee. In the workplace, some people wrap themselves in a comforting cloak of busy. Oh, I'm so darn busy, I can't do anything else. What are the downsides of being busy as a bee?
I think the first thing, you used the word a comforting cloak, and it's a habit. And, if you're at the water cooler and ask someone, how are they? The answer is invariably, I'm good, thanks, I'm busy. I'm good, thanks, I'm traveling, I'm going to a congress, I'm busy. And actually, my mantra is to help people moving away from just doing more stuff. And actually, doing more stuff more quickly of what we've always done is not going to turn the needle. And I believe in life, not just in work, but in life, our competitive advantage comes from not from doing more, but from thinking better about the bigger problems. And then we have a responsibility to do something about it. So instead of forwarding emails and ticking off lists and do, let's not be as busy as a bee. Let's learn not from their example, but learn from an insight. And let's actually slow down and stop and pause and think and maximize our impact.
Yeah, you talk about purpose, busy versus purpose. Can you expand on that a little bit?
I think as we all grow up and mature as leaders and family members and community members, we need to understand where can we make the most impact. And it's not being busier and busier. Even with tools like AI, just doing lists of things more quickly is not the answer. There are some big topics that we need to deal with, such as being a coaching leader, such as developing people, such as hiring brilliant people, and then giving them the space to be brilliant. We all have work to do as volunteers, as employees, as leaders, as employers. Let's step into our purpose and make a difference to the world.
Yeah, awesome. So, Philip, the success of any business rests on good decision making. As people, as humans, we are the stack of the decisions that we have made, right? And as businesses, the business is, by definition, the stack of decisions that have been made. What can bees teach leaders about making better decisions?
Right. Well, I love this topic from learning from the bees. First of all, a beehive of, let's say, 30,000 bees in spring can take a single decision to move location to a new home. And that's called swarming. That's when a bee swarms. And the way they take that decision is fascinating. And there's more in the book, but the simple version is they send out scouts to gather data, and then they assess the data. And then it's a process of which bees are. The bees then get a second opinion and then a third opinion. And eventually all the data comes back, and then the data is processed. And then all of the bees take a single decision to support the one final decision, which might not be what their original proposal was, but everyone gets behind it. And in the book, we talk about work then. And in work, not every decision is the same. There are different ways of taking different decisions. And my plea is to help teams stop and pause and think and decide, what type of a decision is this? Can we take a decision by consensus, where we trust one other person to take the decision? Do we need to take it by consent, where everyone needs to agree? Or different models. But decision making is very important, but we don't take every decision in the same way. And let's be more aware of that and take better decisions accordingly.
So you're advocating for kind of radical transparency then in how a decision is going to be made, and doing that work up front. That's unusual in the business space, especially with managers who feel like decision making is their providence and no one else's. I would imagine that would really be freeing for a team.
And radical transparency helps people know where they are and know how they can contribute in the best way.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, some decisions have to, it might be a crisis or an urgency, and a boss has to take the decision. Right. That is not consensus, and that's fine. But let's be clear about that.
Right.
And then sometimes let's trust members of the team to make a proposal, and then we'll contribute to the proposal. And it's a bit like sharpening your axe before chopping a tree down. Let's agree how we're going to work and then do it really well.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice. Now let's move on to communication. Just like decision making, effective communication is essential for business success. Talk to us about the waggle dance and what this behavior, and that is a pun and it was intended, behavior. What can the waggle dance teach us about effective communication in business?
There are some great puns with the bees. It's a lot of fun. With the waggle dance, the bee comes, when a bee finds a single source of pollen, it comes back to tell its colleagues. And the lesson here is it's not just what they say, but how they say it. actually, bee communication takes place inside the hive in the dark. So the waggle dance actually, it tells the other bees what angle to the sun it is, and that's the waggle, and then how far is how vigorous they are dancing. But in addition, they come back covered in pollen, and the humming noise they make, and how they communicate, and how much energy they put into the message is as important. And my plea for in business, perhaps sending an email is like working in the dark. But we need to be clear what we are saying, and then we need to be careful of how we are saying it. Let's think about the message as well as the delivery, and then let's be consistent. These bees say the same message again and again and again, and a single message can spread through 30,000 bees in the dark. And that might be a good metaphor for what we're trying to do in large organizations.
Right. Yeah, it's large organizations, even small ones. It does feel like you're operating in the dark, or at least what I like to term the mud of obfuscation, where you're just kind of going through and slogging through the mud. Fascinating that bees are doing that in the dark. Yeah. So we're going to take a really short commercial break. We're going to come back and talk to Philip more about bees and leadership. But right before the break, I just want the leaders who are listening to this to imagine think about the last time that you were out in nature and you listened to the bees and you just kind of got connected to nature. I'm using it as a mindfulness practice right now, and I just love this conversation. So thank you, Philip. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, I'd like to invite you to start your weekend with me on the Saturday Morning Muse podcast. I briefly explore topics that span leadership, business management, education, and personal continuous improvement. Subscribe to the Saturday Morning Muse podcast on your favorite podcast streaming app or visit andrewtemte.com for more information. And we're back with Philip Atkinson talking about bees and leadership development. So, Philip, let's take a slight detour to career development. You recommend that employees look at career development like a honeycomb and not as a ladder. Well, I grew up, and I'm sure you did too, that there's this ladder concept. There's rung number 1, and then you move to rung number 2, and it's up the ladder. Suppose you have an early career individual contributor sitting right in front of you right now. How can looking at their career path as a honeycomb instead of a ladder help them?
This is a really fun chapter. And we have a great guest writer who's head of careers and HR for one of the big organizations. And we've been in dialogue in this chapter together. And you're quite right. These traditional career paths no longer exist. They might do, but not for much longer, because we don't know what roles will be existing in the future. And there are so many new roles that are coming that we're not aware of. So we encourage all early career people and anyone at any stage actually to be more aware and conscious. What is it that they love? What is it that they're good at? What is it that they can do that is different to their colleagues and peers? So first of all, it is an awareness process. And then the second one is an insights process. And let's be aware of what organizations are going to need in the short term. And then, let's encourage people to keep gaining experience. And when I said not a ladder, but consider sideways moves. If you're in sales, consider a move into marketing. If you're in marketing, consider a move into a customer-facing role or into HR or supply unit. Understand the whole business and move sideways and have fun and enjoy. And if you don't like it, move back again. But it doesn't have to be an old-fashioned climbing a ladder vertically, because the top of the ladder might not exist by the time you get there.
Right.
So really tune into what you love, tune into what you're good at, and keep experimenting.
Yeah, yeah. What I heard from that explanation was that business acumen is critical for long-term career success. And when I use the term business acumen, I'm talking about get out of your silos, take the blinders off, understand what's happening around you, and be curious about, take an interest in that. That's really going to help your career path. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So in your book, Be Wise, you introduce 12 leadership lessons from your experience working with bees. As I mentioned before the break, I've had a bit of an aha moment myself out on my property here in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I work really hard to nurture the nature that is around me and the wildflowers that are native to the area. And I find myself out in the field, especially in peak flowering season, just getting in tune with what's happening around me. And the bees are absolutely everywhere. So that my aha moment was, I spent most of my life afraid of these things, and they are actually absolutely my best friend in my mission to grow more wildflowers on my property. And they don't want to hurt me, and I don't want to hurt them. And I've gotten all sorts of kind of leadership corollaries from that. Tell us about what led to your aha moment about behaviors and how they could translate into leadership development lessons. And then as you're working through that, of your 12 lessons, which one stands out as the most important?
I think that the first thing is an old model was that organizations were like machines, and there was a mechanistic approach, and that was based on organizational structures, and change happened in a block, linear, machine-based way. And we've all seen consultancies supporting that work. But an organization, any organization or any team, it might even be a local community volunteer group, it's a living organic system. So actually, let's use all of our senses to understand what is happening in a living organic system. And you mentioned mindfulness with the bees. Well, if you listen to a beehive, if you just slow down and pause and notice, you can hear if they are stressed or not, because the noise changes pitch. So as you can, and we might not. So a storm might be coming, which we can't see, but they can feel the atmospheric pressure,
Right.
and they're stressed, and you can hear they're stressed, or you can smell if they are stressed, because they stop making honey, and they start making a bitter protein called propolis, which is a bee glue which protects the hive. Or you can see how they are moving. If they're agitated and moving in a staccato fashion, they're stressed. Now, we're using our senses to understand the system. And if the bees are stressed, don't put your hand in the box. It's that simple. And let's come back to organizations and change. Let's tune in to how people respond to change. And people respond to a stimulus. And, I really encourage leaders not to look at change from their own perspective. They might, with heavy hands, force through a change and be surprised when they get stung.
Right.
No, work with the system, work with the influencers, work with the units of people that are going to make a difference, and therefore don't get stung.
Right. Which of the 12 lessons in the book, if a leader could only walk away with one, which one would you say you got to walk away with this one?
Yeah, I've got a copy of the book here, and the 12 lessons are kind of annotated on the bee that we can see. And I think the single one is the one we started with, which is don't be as busy as a bee. Make time to reflect, make time to pause, make time to discuss more with colleagues what they're noticing and what is happening. And then we can be more effective more quickly.
Yeah. So I'm hearing active listening is really important as a leader, putting down your phone, getting closer to the work and connecting with the work that's actually happening in your business, because most leaders would be really surprised with how the work is actually getting done in their business. Yeah, thank you for that, Philip.
And a lot of this is not new, but the bees give us an excuse to have these discussions again.
Yeah.
That's what the book is doing. It's allowing, and I do a lot of keynote speaking, and it allows people, it gives them an excuse to stop and look again at what is in front of them.
Yeah. So what else would you like prospective readers of Be Wise to know? What have we missed today that you want to make sure listeners get from this conversation?
Andrew, thank you. There's two things. The first is, I wrote the first chapter and then thought, hang on, I don't do anything by myself. It's always collaboration and co-creation. So actually, each chapter has a guest writer who has replied from their own perspective. Mm. And they may be senior leaders in HR or recruitment or talent or research or different parts of businesses. So the whole book is a dialogue between me and 12 experts in the field regarding the 12 topics. And that makes it a really fun dialogue. And then the second thing, which I'm very proud of, which is the most fun, is all the proceeds from the book go to an amazing bee charity. And the charity is called beesfordevelopment.org. And they do some great work supporting people all around the world to have sustainable bee businesses. It's a lovely charity.
Excellent. I may need to look that up, because as we talked about before the show started, I've got this 37 acres and I'm doing a lot of work with wildflowers and I'm getting in tune with bees. It just makes sense that I should become a beekeeper.
Bring it on, Andrew. Bring it on.
Yeah. So, Philip, this has been such a fun conversation today. I'm sure our listeners have gotten a lot out of it. I've got 3 lightning round questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. Excellent. Well, Philip, you've just won a $100 million lotto jackpot, but there's a stipulation that 50% of your net winnings go to one philanthropic cause or organization. I think I know the answer to this question, but who do you pick?
I'd give 100 million to the beesfordevelopment.org, which is more than the proceeds of the book sales so far. So they'd appreciate it.
Well, it's such an important cause, because bees are just integral to our way of living, our way of life on this planet. If we didn't have bees, the whole thing would come crashing down. So, absolutely. Philip, second question. I give you access to a rudimentary time machine. You can send a message to an earlier version of Philip Atkinson. What's the message and what previous version do you send it to?
Oh, my goodness. It would be when I was in my first proper leadership role. And the lesson is, it's okay not to know. And there's a whole chapter in the book about this. I thought leadership meant that you were the expert and that you had to pretend that you knew better than everybody else. And actually that belief held me back in my career until I learned and grew up and matured and learned coaching style.
Yeah. It took me a long time to recognize that saying, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm curious. I'd like to find out. Does anybody on the team know? Have more expertise than I do, and lean into that instead of shying away that somehow I was not doing it right by not knowing and having all the answers. So, Philip, we're all works in progress. What are you focused on right now in your personal journey of growth?
I've got a lot to keep learning about. It's saying no more and not being as busy as a bee. So I need to practice what I preach. And in actual fact, I do some keynote work about making a to-do not do list. And it's really helping me. each week, each day, I make a list of the things that I'd love to get distracted by that I need to say no to.
Yeah.
And it's really quite powerful.
Oh, that's excellent advice. What not to a do not do list.
Yes, I actually have a do not do list, and it's really helpful to me.
Well, Philip, I'm really glad, and I'm sure our listeners are too, that you said yes to this interview, and I do hope that our listeners pick up a copy of your book. I just love the whole concept. If you're watching on YouTube, Philip is holding it up. It's a very elegant cover. It's called Be Wise, 12 Leadership Lessons. All the proceeds go to help future beekeepers. So it's just awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Philip.
Andrew, thank you very much.
All right. And the book is available on Amazon and wherever books are sold, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here. Well, everyone, my name is Andy Temte. This is the Balancing Act podcast. You can find the show on all the major streaming services as well as out on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, share this public good with your friends, your colleagues, your neighbor, and maybe even a family member. The show was produced by Nicholas Temte, and we'll see you next time on the Balancing Act.